Coach, I guess the big question this spring is just kind of trying to replace the older guys. I guess how much of a challenge has that been for you as a coach?
Well, every year you got to replace guys. I mean, that's just the nature of college football, and as a staff, you got to do a good job developing guys. I think our assistants have done a really nice job, particularly up front. You know, we're losing two guys that had a heck of a lot of experience, and in Jay Boog and Tony, and our young guys I think are really talented, and they're starting to step up. The older guys, Quincy and Duda, are having a really good spring. They've improved their game, but you've got to have depth to play, and we feel pretty good about 5 or 6 guys right now.
I think Coach Yates talked about wanting his guys to be a bit more physical. I guess how do you kind of start to build that with those guys?
I think our corners in particular have been much more physical. Really impressed with Mo Horns, had a great camp. Braylon Lux got more playing time last year, and he's improved his game. Both those guys are doing a really nice job in press coverage, but they're also very good tacklers for us. So the physicality I think has gone up, and I think anytime you have guys playing with a lot of speed because they know what to do, you can naturally play faster and play more physical.
Coach, how have you felt about your star position with AJ, BJ, and then obviously Michael too?
Yeah, no, we've had great competition there. BJ, for a true freshman, I thought did a lot of good things, but there was a drop from Mudd. It's not his fault. He didn't play, as many snaps in college football as Mudd did, just going out there. And so we didn't want him to feel comfortable. And putting, AJ there, letting those guys compete, have pushed both them. And I like where that position is. Mike couldn't go live, but he's interesting. He's a bigger star. His track times will tell you he can really run. And he's done a really nice job of loosening his hips up so that he can play some man coverage and turn, and it's still a little foreign for him, but he's got a chance there when we come back in the fall.
How much do you really, I guess, call back to what Muddy was able to do at that position, I guess, to kind of maybe model to those guys, I guess, what it's supposed to look like?
Well, our teach tapes, we have a lot of Mudd on there, and I think the way he played, the ability to make negative yardage plays, to play coverage and then disguise between am I in the rush or am I in coverage, he had a great feel for it, and so those guys learn from it. When you first learn the position, particularly when you have not played college football like BJ last year, I think you're just happy getting lined up. He's got a much better feel, and so he's adding some more nuance to his game. AJ's played some, not with our language, but he's played as an overhang position, so I think he's got a little bit of a natural feel to it. And competition makes both those guys better. So if one guy doesn't have as good a day, the next guy's in the first unit.
Coach, who would you consider your top individual pass rushers right now on the team?
That's a good question. I think Amir has done a really nice job on the edge. He's got to be much more disciplined in not jumping off sides. He's got a great get off. Sometimes he doesn't time it out very well. We've gotten Braylon Rigsby back this week, and he's really flashed at times as an inside rusher. Those two guys have done a really nice job as we go forward. Again, they're younger guys that haven't played a lot of college football, but they've got some raw material there that we're looking forward to working with.
Coach, it seems like John Curry's production may kind of go up a little bit this upcoming season. Where's his progress been in spring?
Well, I look at the guys that kind of surprised us just from how quickly they pick things up, and I think John's right there at the top of the list. He came here, he was about 190 pounds, did a great job of getting his body to about 225 before the season. He's maintained that pretty well. He's got a really good feel for the position, probably well beyond his years as far as he plays like he's an experienced linebacker. And he's very physical, probably one of our most physical linebackers, and he's made a ton of plays for us. So I really like where he's progressed to. He's solidly in our 2 deep, and we expect a really good fall for him.
Coach, where is this defense in comparison to where you want them to be in the fall?
We're a work in progress. One of our goals in the spring is for have guys to establish what their role is going to be. And as a coach, you want to have a solid 2.5 deep, where if there is an injury, you don't have a drastic drop off. And I think we're getting closer to that. There's some positions we still need some guys back. Outside backer, we didn't have Isaac Smith. Joe DeRuyter has been out the whole time. So it's gotten a chance for us to get those younger guys a bunch of reps and see where they're at, and that's why guys like Amir's really shown up and gotten his game better. So, you still want to eliminate big plays. I thought we played pretty well in the last scrimmage, save for about a handful of plays. But you can't give up those big plays because that's when you don't play good defense. So our guys got to learn from that and hopefully progress again this fall.
Which player has shown the greatest growth over the spring?
The greatest growth? There's probably a couple guys. John Curry I just mentioned. I thought he really made a step up. I think JP, Jalen Peoples, has really upped his game. Mo Horn at corner I think is playing as well as anybody on our defense right now. So it was good to see him really step up. I like where Dude has come. In the 3 years that we've had him, every year he's made progress. And sometimes a guy thinks, okay, the older guys are gone, and I'm going to inherit it. He comes out and he works, and so I think he's done a really good job. I think Quincy's done a nice job doing that as well. Both those guys got to be more consistent, but I think they're doing a nice job of taking up the slack. With two veteran guys leaving about 6,000 reps as Red Raiders not being here anymore.
Coach, you mentioned the Jalen Peoples at corner. I'm also curious about Devin Cromwell. How's he look this spring?
He's done a nice job too. Again, JP's been here. This is his third spring, so you expect him. Devin's a guy who's got a lot of raw material, really good raw material. He's playing very physical. He's a smart football player, but a lot of the language is new. So he does some really good things, and then some things we got to work on. But I think he'll be definitely in our 2 deep, come this fall. And again, we're getting to that point where our 1s and 2s aren't that big of a drop off.
Tim, what's Trevon McAlpine's progress been like?
A little, 2 steps forward, 1 step back a little bit. Probably his best spring. Saturday was not his best scrimmage, but he's done a lot of really good things. I got to keep reminding myself, when we first got here, he hadn't played his last year as a senior in high school, and then didn't play for us because of the injury. And so he's really kind of just learning things. And last fall was his real first fall in a while. He's gotten his body in better shape. He's got some natural quickness and has made some plays. We just got to continue to develop him, because if he doesn't, those young guys are going to go by him.
What's the competition been like at field safety with Chapman and Jordan Sanford?
Well, Chap got injured early. He was really playing well. He's a guy that got a chance to play some last year, and so I think that really helped his confidence and just the feel for the game. Would have liked those guys to compete some more, but we have some really good tape of Chap, and he's a smart football player. Jordan got a chance to run with the 1s. He's still battling, and so I anticipate in the fall they'll still compete. Hopefully it'll be a back and forth. I don't want Chap to run away with it. And if Jordan will keep battling, he's got the material in him to do it. So I think that'll be a good competition this fall.
How's Javion kind of factored in there? I know Joey said he wants to keep him at boundary, but I guess is he running both still? Kind of.
In our defense, both those safeties at times can be interchangeable. We ask them to do similar things. One gets protected by space a little bit because he's primarily in the boundary, and there's a couple different things that we ask him to do. But he's a smart football player and can be a swing guy and play either side. He was doing real well, making great progress, and then he had an injury to his teeth last couple of practices ago. So I don't think he'll be back for spring. He'll be back in fall. Sorry.
What does Baskerville mean to the secondary?
He's really grown up as a leader. He's a great communicator, great tackler. Really sets a great example for work ethic for these guys. I see him in a lot of ways taking over the role that Rabbit had for us last year, being that bell cow, and taking that secondary as a unit and saying, hey, this is where we go, because I'm going to hold everybody to a standard.
Coach, I'm curious about your thoughts on the starters at linebacker. I know that you're getting some pretty heavily productive players back there.
Yeah, again, I feel really good there. Ben Roberts had a good year last year. I think he's poised to have an even better one this year with the experience coming back. Jacob, we're happy at the end of the season that we were able to redshirt him. I didn't want to redshirt him during the season, But injuries happen, and he's come back, is going to be a really good player for us. But what I'm most excited for is that depth behind him. I mentioned John Curry. He's played really well. Bryce has really stepped his game up and improved now that he's been a full-time inside linebacker. So having those guys, you've got Justin Horn, who's got a lot of natural ability, but he's got to learn the defense, be a little bit more disciplined in it. But he's a linebacker that can really run. And then Mike Dingle can be a swing guy. So we're getting closer to that 2.5 deep that it doesn't matter who's in, we shouldn't have a drop-off.
I'm curious about what you've thought about Josh Kelly so far. It seems like he's been tough to guard.
Yeah, no, he's a heck of a football player. I'm glad that he's here when we go to Pullman, because I wouldn't want to go against him, because he's made a ton of plays. He's a guy that's got great speed, ability to get open, and I think he's really been dynamite in situations where it's a one-on-one 50-50 ball, and we're all over him, and he's coming up with more than his share of those. So we got to continue to do a better job of that, but you got to give him credit too for making those plays.
Looking ahead to the spring game, who's left that you want to see some production out of, or who do you hope has a big day, one last cap off the spring game?
Well, you want everybody to continue to get better. We're going to have another big practice tomorrow. Spring games, in a lot of ways, we're going to be fairly vanilla on both sides of the ball. So it's our fans can see our teams and see everybody play, but there's usually not a lot of growth in that particular scrimmage. I don't know if y'all saw what Coach Kiffin did on Saturday or heard the word. Did y'all hear? I mean, they had a dunk contest. With the way the transfer portal is now, nobody wants to put their guys out there and let other people poach off of, oh, hey, that backup tackle for Ole Miss is pretty good. Let's call his high school coach and find out if he's happy there. That's the world we live in right now. So our guys will play, but I don't know how much the starters will play, and we really get an opportunity to see those 2s and 3s. Are they ready to make that jump?
We've got time for one or two more.
Coach, one of the names that's garnered a lot of praise from teammates and other personnel coaches is Harvey Dyson. Can you kind of talk about what he's done this offseason to put himself in that?
Yeah, he's a guy that going into spring we challenged. He had to start, being more productive. And I apologize for not mentioning him earlier, because he's another guy that's really made a leap. Was going and doing some great things. He got dinged up the other day. That's why, out of sight, out of mind sometimes. But he was probably playing as good as any of our edge guys this whole spring. And the thing about him, he's very smart. He's very athletic. You can play him to the field, the boundary. He understands coverage concepts. And even though he hasn't played a ton of snaps on the field in the fall, he acts like he's a veteran player. And he's been here 3 springs. He retains knowledge and plays fast. He's playing at his fastest level right now. He's doing a really nice job in his pass rush and can still drop in our sim pressure stuff and be more effective than some of the young guys that haven't quite got it yet.